Hello. So what is your name and title?
Kristen Haar, and my title is Compliance and Training Officer here at the Iowa DOT Office of Public Transit.
So how long have you worked at the DOT?
I've worked at the DOT almost 9 years.
So I'd like to learn more about the work that you do. Can you please describe a typical day at your job?
Typical day, well, my typical week includes both travel and desk work, but a typical day would be reviewing programs and plans from around the state, from transit agencies and planning agencies alike. They have to complete various documents for us under requirements of federal law, so we have to review those. So that's a typical day for me. Also arranging different training opportunities for our transit agencies, and yeah, a lot of it is writing documents, reviewing documents, and that sort of thing.
Into professional development, what first got you interested in this field?
Well, I started out in civil engineering. A lot of people start in engineering and then go somewhere else, and I chose planning. I had wanted to do like road design and that sort of thing. So with engineering not going so well and my best grade being a C, I chose to go toward planning because I could do transportation planning, and it was basically what I wanted to do with engineering, but didn't know what planning was at the time. So that got me into, I also had a friend who had just switched to community and regional planning, and when she was talking about it, it just sounded right up my alley. So I went and met with the department chair, and the rest is history.
Planning theory, how do you define planning?
I define planning as listening. You need to do a lot of, I don't know if it's research, but question asking, and then actually truly listening to answers about what people want to see in their communities. A lot of the projects that we work on here in the Office of Public Transit deal with folks who are sort of typically marginalized. And so we really need to be listening to their needs and figuring out services and products that we can be putting together and projects that we can be putting together for making their lives better, and not just assuming that we know what's best for them. So I think that happens a lot. I think we begin thinking that we know what's best for an area or a community and just go ahead and plow through a project. And we have found through some experience in working with some groups that they feel like they're left out. And so I think that's the most important thing, is to make sure that you're actually listening and hearing the needs of folks and what they want out of a project or plan or what have you, because that's pretty important.
So then into some stories for the field. What challenges do you face as a planner working for the state of Iowa, and how does this compare to when you worked at the Des Moines MPO?
Challenges working here, I think, are that you're working for the whole state, and it's a huge area, and being pulled in a lot of different directions. So one area of the state may want some assistance with something, and then the same thing from another area of the state, and trying to balance your time and your funding because it's pretty limited, both. And just making sure that you're serving the entire state with any project or ideas that you may be coming up with or plans. And whereas working at the Des Moines MPO, obviously it was a much smaller area, but working at the MPO, I was much more one-on-one, interacting with the political environment. And it was, and we're very sheltered from that as state employees because, that's for much higher pay grade folks to deal with. And we don't have to get involved so much in the politics of decision making here. It But at the Des Moines MPO, that was definitely present in all of our decision-making processes. So I think that's the biggest difference is you're a little more sheltered at the state level because it's such a big arena.
Sweet. So then, can you tell me about a project that dealt with inclusion? So then, what was this project? How are you interacting with the community or with the community as part of this work? How was the community represented, and what was the role of the community in this project, and then the outcome?
So we've been very involved at the Office of Public Transit level in working with the disabled community in what's known as the Medicaid Integrated Settings Rule. And what that rule is that by next March 17th, 2019, persons on the intellectual disability waiver through Medicaid are supposed to be more fully integrated into the community, both in employment, housing situations, anything they want to do, social, quality of life type activities. So there's a couple committees that actually came to the Office of Public Transit because having transportation is key to enabling persons with disabilities who probably can't drive to getting to their employment opportunities and getting to their and social activities and whatnot. So we have partnered with multiple committees that include persons with disabilities and have been or worked around the state, putting on presentations about public transit, getting the word out about this new rule change to our public transit partners around the state, and encouraging them to work locally with their disability communities to ensure those needs are going to be met. And some good projects have really come out of that with just even conversation. It hasn't necessarily always taken more money. It's just realizing the resources that are out there. So that's pretty a good victory, I think, in just letting people know the other transportation resources that are out there for folks besides public transit that may not be available all the time. So I think listening to that community and just learning about how this new rule will be impacting them and how public transit could assist them has been just amazing, and just you really know that you're making an impact. So that's been a really good project for us to undertake.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last question, what advice do you have for a young person entering this field?
Well, I knew nothing about public transit coming out of school. I went to work 2 weeks after graduation at the Des Moines area MPO, and so I guess what I would encourage is just maybe thinking outside the box, because that's very cliche. I'm sorry. I said it. So just look around at other areas that may employ planners. Because, through the Office of Public Transit, I'm still involved in, even though I'm not writing plans on a daily basis, it is still planning when you're developing new projects. But I also review a ton of plans from all over the state, from our regional planning affiliations and metropolitan planning organizations on their passenger transportation planning activities and their long-range transportation planning activities. So just knowing the planning process, you're able to better assist those agencies in creating better plans and asking better questions about their planning process. So I think just look around, and I never would have thought that I'd end up in public transit, but here I am. So I think that there are a lot more possibilities out there for planners than you may even realize. So don't rule anything out.
Sweet.